So let's talk a little bit about our new vocabulary. Oh, bring this back up here. So at the beginning of our list are objects, and then bound and unbound. So objects is basically all of the things that you see on your form. So we're gonna put that like that. So every single drop down on here, every little snippet of words, every checkbox, every button to click, all of these pieces are all individual objects. If you've ever, well, if you think about putting together a PowerPoint presentation and you have, all these different text boxes and little image boxes and all these different things that are going on a slide, this is the same thing. So those are all objects. What does it mean if a form is bound versus unbound? So that's just whether or not it's attached to data. So this one obviously is, because it's got this drop down list in here and it's got all this other information that it's automatically pulled up. So this is a bound form. In contrast, if you were to create a brand new form, it's automatically unbound because you haven't attached it to any data yet. So that's bound and unbound. Okay, so I'm going to walk you a little bit around the design view of this, just so you can kind of get an idea of what's going on. So when you look at any of these forms in the design view, it kind of turns a little ugly. It's got these grid mark things. That's to help you line everything up. So that's just design tool. You can see that just like Microsoft Word, you have these different little things that are they're red to help, and they have a little underline thing to show you that it is specifically tabs to mess around with your form in the design. And these function very much like Microsoft Word. So for example, if you wanted to change the color of the background, you can click on the background, go to Format, and change the background color just that easily. In this area, Control Z actually does work, which is kind of nice. So you've got some limited normal Microsoft Word support with stuff like that. That being said, it's still a lot clunkier than Word and PowerPoint and things like that. So just keep that in mind for your sanity check if you've got high expectations for this kind of stuff. Okay, so if you want to get more than just color changes and these very lightweight things, what you need to do is look in your property sheet. So one way you can get there is by double-clicking that, but the more proper way of getting there is actually clicking here in the property sheet. That's going to give you all of these extra things that you never knew existed. For example, and actually let's go close that real quick and let's see. Okay, so because this is a bound form, you can see that it has a record selector on the bottom to tell you which record that you're on. And you can actually, instead of doing the drop down, if you wanted to go in order of the records, that this is the primary bound binding, then you can just actually just go through like this. Is this the ideal way of doing it? No, but it is possible, which is always good to know. Let's see, I don't know if any of these have the record bar. I don't see any offhand. So what I can do is create a new one. Huzzah. So if we look at this brand new form, you can see that when we create a new form, it is blank. It is naked. It's got nothing going on in here. What it does have is a background that is specifically white. It's got the record selector on the left side, and it's got the little record bar on the bottom side. So let's go peek in the design view here. And you can see that the data here, there's nothing in here. It's blank. If with this drop down, these are all of the different tables and queries that are saved in this database that it could be connected to. In contrast, our order one, if we look at that one's design data, the primary record source here that we're looking at is the orders query. So that's how we're getting the information to get put in here. And that's what's being reflected in that records. So this is the example of the bound, and then this one is unbound because there's nothing in there. Let's see. There we go. So the record selector, we can just move that to no. Put this back in form view, and you can see that left bar disappeared. Just like how most of these forms don't have it, now this one doesn't have it either because you don't usually use those anyways. Going back here, so yes, you can change backgrounds and stuff. You can get in here and tell it whether to automatically figure out how high it should be based on what's in there or not. All sorts of things. This property sheet changes in according to what you're selecting it on. So there's no real objects in here yet. So it's actually just on the form itself versus when you're looking at the orders, for example. Right now it's on that general one, but if I go to ship right here, it's actually just looking at the ship. You can see that it's got a caption that specifically has what it's supposed to be in there. So ship to, let's be snarky and say boat to, and you can see that it actually changed the text in there to boat to. You can change its width from in here, width, height, whether you can make it transparent or not. You can change the border styling of the text box, all sorts of things. So what does that mean for you? When you are figuring out the aesthetics of your form, this is where you're going to go in and do a lot of the detail work, which for some of you will be a lot of fun. Other you, this might be just like a little gruesome. So just keep in mind that some of the stuff you kind of have to do in here, but a lot of it you can actually do up here, and do the quick route of like, oh, I want this to have a blue outline that's super thick for some reason, and you can just change it like that. You don't have to use this all the time, especially for just the aesthetic stuff. Okay, that is gruesome, so okay, backtrack those. And you can see, like, do you want to save any changes? No, God, no. Okay. What else do you need in here? So, yeah, so these are the properties. So we're going back to here. We've talked about the objects, properties. We're going to go to events momentarily, bound versus unbound. Okay. So like I said, this is a lot of exploring on what you want to do. It's really easy to, oh, not in there. If you want to come in here, you can, I see I even told you that it was unbound. You can just easily create things in there. So like boxes and freestyle text objects, do things like drawing lines, all sorts of stuff. Some of these things we're going to use and specifically teach you how to use, like the combo boxes and stuff, and buttons and such. You see, like, you can put like charts and pictures and your usual Microsoft Word types things in there. Okay, events is going to use a little coding, so we're going to break that into a separate video.